So today the deadline for Columbia's MBA was announced. So there are 5 key points. Every year, Alpha accepts applicants to Columbia's MBA, and the number of successful applicants has been increasing recently. So I think this year is a good chance. Well, actually, we are also looking at university applications. This year, it was especially easy to get accepted into top schools like Columbia, Stanford, and UC Berkeley. There were a lot of successful admissions. I think there are various factors, such as the global situation, but since this is a great opportunity, I encourage everyone to take on the challenge. Yes. So from here, let's talk about Columbia's MBA. TJ also graduated from Chicago's MBA program, went on to Goldman Sachs, and has been supporting everyone's careers. Columbia is also known as a finance school. In fact, there are people who went from Alpha to Columbia's MBA and then joined investment banks in New York. There are also those who went to Chicago and then joined investment banks in New York as well. Definitely, especially in finance. Now, recently, there are also people going into consulting and tech, and New York is a city overflowing with great food as well. I hope you will take advantage of this opportunity. Yes. So, what are the recruitment requirements for Columbia? Let's start by looking at the deadline. All right, here it is. This shows the MBA application requirements. The deadlines are listed here for the full-time program. First, for the January entry, J-term, round 1 is June 17th and round 2 is August 13th. So there are only 2 rounds and the deadlines come up pretty quickly. There isn't much time, so make sure you start preparing early so you don't miss out before you even realize it. For the August entry, round 1 is on September 3rd, round 2 is on January 6th, and round 3 is on March 26th. This schedule is relatively standard, pretty much what you'd expect from a typical American business school. Here, there's an application checklist and there's nothing particularly unusual about it. However, for international applicants or those applying from outside the US, things like TOEFL or IELTS, Columbia does require them. What do you think? TOEFL and IELTS have been discontinued for about 7 or 8 years now. So I think it's become much easier to apply. Also, they accept the executive assessment as well, and this too. I think it's been about 3 years since they started accepting it, and since it's still being accepted, I think it means the executive assessment is perfectly fine. Also, you only need to submit 1 letter of recommendation, so I think it's a school that's relatively easy to prepare for. And then let's see. There's also the transcript, GPA, and the GMAT test. Then there's the resume and essay. So I'll be talking today about the essay questions and the key points for getting accepted to Columbia MBA in connection with those. About the essays, actually, the essay questions have changed a little from last year.
Yes, that's right. Can I take a look at the 3 GMAT options for a moment? So there's the GMAT, the executive assessment, and the GRE. Well, these days, there are a lot of people who study for the GMAT and take that, or who take the executive assessment, and then there's the GRE. For those who are applying to other schools as well, I think it usually comes down to either the GMAT or the GRE. As for international students, since TOEFL and IELTS are not required, I think it's relatively easier to apply. And recommendations regarding that part. Well, as long as you create the strongest resume with Alpha support, I think you'll have no problem getting through. And since it's just one recommendation letter, just one is needed. A recommendation letter is fine, so I don't think it will be that much trouble. However, it does need to be written very thoroughly. Yes. And then next is the essay, I suppose. Oh, and about the deadline. Let's take a look at that first. Yes. So when we say January, we mean January 2026. So the deadline is early, either June 17 or August 13, but there's plenty of time to make it. So definitely when we say January, it means you'll be in the same round as those applying for this September. That's why the August and January 2026 entries are offset by a year. There's a 1 year difference. Also, there are some techniques for deciding how to choose between the J term and the August entry. So please feel free to ask about that. And there are various points to consider. Well, You could call them little tricks, I guess. Yeah, there are certain ways to go about it, so I hope you'll ask if you're interested. Now, for the August entry next year, those who will be starting with the so-called August entry, that would be September 3rd. So I think you have a relatively decent amount of time. First, there's the June and August J term, and then after that, there's September, January, and March for next year's August entry. Yeah, that's right. My impression is that people who are a bit older tend to go for the J term. Okay, now moving on to the essay. Let me talk a little about the key points for the essay. So, yeah, well, it's pretty orthodox, though. First, the most important one is essay one. This is about your immediate post-MBA professional goal. That's what it is. So,
This part is a little different. For August entry, since you have a summer break, you're asked how you plan to spend that summer. But for this one, it's more about why you chose the J term. So that's the distinction here. Yes, it's a bit different. What's really important is to write concretely about it.
So regarding essay one, well, I've looked at the resume and the recommendations. We'll do that. Emmy, could you read it for us?
Ah, yes, this is essay one. Cool. Through the resume and recommendation, we have a clear sense of your professional path to date, what your career goals are over the next 3 to 5 years, and what your long-term dream jobs are. That's what it's asking. I think this is the most difficult one. It's very simple, though.
So you always start from your long-term goal and then work backwards to what you'll do in the next 3 to 5 years. You have to write about this in 500 words, and I think this long-term dream job part is extremely difficult. And then up until now, well, I'm sure you all have your work experience and academic background. They really look at how consistent those are with your goals. Also, in addition to that, they'll also really dig into whether your long-term goal is something that can change society or bring about a positive impact and why you personally want to pursue it. You should expect to be thoroughly questioned on these points. On top of that, they'll ask you about your 3 to 5 year plan going forward. So regarding this part, if you try to write it on your own, honestly, it tends to come out sounding cheap and fake and ends up being unrealistic. So I really recommend that you consult with Alpha about this. Now, moving on to essay two, up until now, well, there used to be questions like the ODI one, but those pretty much disappeared due to the influence of Trump. So things have gone back to normal. Please go ahead with essay two.
Yes. So the question is, please share a specific example of how you made a team or work environment more inclusive or fostered a greater sense of community within an organization. These days, collaboration has really become a key point. So,
Right. They're asking what you did to make things more collaborative. So when giving a specific example, I think it's important to carefully consider what you choose to highlight. Yes. Now let's move on to the third point, please.
yes, so the question is, we believe Columbia Business School is a special place with a collaborative learning environment in which students feel a sense of belonging, agency, and partnership, both academically and professionally. How would you co-create your optimal MBA experience at CBS? Please be specific.
Already. So it's about collaboration. I'm not really sure. Yes. Anyway, the key point is this year's Columbia Business School, CBS's, I think it's clear that the theme is collaboration. Yes. So as Emi-san from Columbia often says, when you visit the Columbia campus, you really notice that there are a lot more collaborative people now. That's right.
Yeah, among the current students as well. I was at Columbia in 2019 and I've been observing things for a few years now, but lately it seems like there are a lot more people with a really strong collaborative spirit. In the past, since it's a New York school, things used to be a bit more tense and competitive. Yeah, I used to have the impression that there were a lot of driven or somewhat selfish people, but I feel like Colombia's image is starting to change a bit. Up until now, it's been all about collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. In the past, the competitive edge was much stronger, wasn't it? Columbia was in New York, it was really special. in such an energetic place, and the question was always, why is New York so great? It does feel a bit different now. Well, whether that's a good thing or not is another question. But Columbia is definitely becoming more collaborative like this. Student, you can see that they're trying to create a good environment by bringing in those kinds of students. So, as much as possible, you should focus on that kind of content. I think it's really important to keep emphasizing that point. And, well, I don't think it's such a tough essay, to be honest.
However, when it comes to essay one, I think the key to getting accepted is how you build consistency and specificity around your long-term and short-term goals. What you have done so far, near what you want to do in the future, how you want to contribute at the school, and most importantly, how you create overwhelming persuasive power for why it has to be Columbia. So I strongly recommend that you start working on this part as early as possible. When you come to Alpha, right from day one at the kickoff meeting, we'll already be discussing this. We'll actually start drafting the core of your essays right away, so I really encourage you to come to Alpha as early as possible. Now, regarding the 5 points that CBS uses to evaluate Columbia MBA applicants, well, as many of you already know, having a global perspective is extremely important. There are a lot of people who have global experience. Yes. So within that, it's important to clearly describe what kind of experiences you've had, what challenges you face, how you solved or overcame them, or even if you couldn't overcome them. Then there's leadership impact, collaboration, and contribution. I think those are exactly the kinds of things they're looking for. Yes, just as I mentioned earlier. And third, there's innovation and critical thinking. Since New York is truly an exciting place where dynamic organizations and people gather, it's important to explain what kind of innovation you want to create there and why. Why does it have to be New York? That's the kind of question they ask. Well, this is a question that's been asked for decades. So how you answer that honestly and realistically, and in a way that's consistent with the trajectory of your own life, that's really what's being tested. And the fourth point is fit with CBS, which is about how well you fit with the school. Of course, this isn't limited to just CBS. I think this applies everywhere. Then there's consistency from past to future, which is about whether you're consistent. In other words, this isn't something specific to CBS either, but it's about that sense of coherence. Basically, looking at your life so far, your career, your academic achievements, your professional experience, or why have you worked so hard at those things? That consistency and how it connects to what you want to do in the future, your so-called long-time dream job, is extremely important. And then logically explaining how that ties in with CBS and New York is also crucial. If you don't write about and analyze those points, I think it will be quite difficult to get accepted. On the other hand, if you can establish that connection, then relatively speaking, yes, that's right. CBS is, well, how should I put it? No, so no, I think it's a school where, as long as you write properly, it's relatively easy to get accepted. Yes, and well, especially at top schools these days, not just for MBAs, but also for fields like computer science, data science, and financial engineering. There are actually quite a lot of people moving into those areas. So among the very top schools, even within Alpha's top schools, Harvard, Stanford, Columbia, and MIT are definitely at the top. And also Chicago, Wharton, and well, including Columbia. Overall, I get the sense that it's become much easier to get accepted into these top schools. There are probably various reasons for that, but please ask me about those individually if you're interested. So basically, if you apply and with Alpha's support, you're able to write essays that are logical, rational, concrete, and consistent, then without a doubt, if you get invited to an interview, then you should thoroughly prepare for it. You can just take interview lessons with Alpha. Well, that part isn't really a big deal. Yeah, I don't think it's something you need to struggle with too much. The deadline for that is pretty early, right? So you should get started on things early. Yeah, of course, since it's Columbia, you can't cut corners, but writing your resume, essays, recommendations, and doing interviews, if you have one solid set of materials prepared, you can use that when applying to other schools as well. You can also reuse those materials for other schools, or if you get accepted to Columbia's MBA, then after that, you only need to apply to your other top choice schools if you want. So I think it's a really good school in terms of positioning. Also, the J term that starts in January 2026 seems pretty good too. So definitely consider it. At Alpha, there are already quite a few people who have been preparing for this since the beginning of this year with that goal in mind. If you're thinking you want to start now, hurry up and come to Alpha. And if you approach it with the mindset of really focusing on finishing your CBS application, I think things will go well for you. And if you can get into Columbia, you'll have opportunities in investment banking, consulting, and funds, for example, and also GAFA and so on. There are also plenty of opportunities at operating companies. It's quite a multifaceted environment. Columbia isn't a school that's only about finance or anything like that. So it's very well balanced. I think it's a school where graduates are spread out across a wide range of industries. So whether you want to go into marketing, consulting, tech, finance, start your own business, or even work in government or the nonprofit sector, I think it's a really good fit. Yes, so for all of you, I believe it's extremely well, it's a bit hard to put into words, but I think it's a top MBA program that's actually within reach. So I encourage you to consult with Alpha as early as possible.
Yes, let's definitely prepare together. This applies not only to MBAs and the M7 schools, but also to places like UC Berkeley, UCLA, and even European schools. There are people applying to those as well. And then there's the job search after that. For example, from Columbia, people go on to work at foreign investment banks, BlackRock, consulting firms, hedge funds. Well, for MBAs, there are relatively many who go into investment banking, but at Alpha, we also support those who want to go into hedge funds or the market side. So if that's what you're aiming for, by all means, let us know. We highly recommend it. Yes. So at Alpha, we start from creating your initial personal career goals, then move on to the resume and essays. Actually, the first step is the most important, but it also connects to the structure of the second step. Organizing your resume is also part of this process. Then there's the matter of who you get your recommendations from and what you ask them to write. If you get called for an interview, then there's the interview itself. For interviews, the school often assigns someone, like at Columbia, they might tell you then this alumnus will be your interviewer. So we also cover information about the interviewers. There are all kinds of different personalities. And TJ, for example, graduated from Chicago Booth and has been an interviewer for many years. With that experience as an interviewer, he really understands what points they're looking for. Basically, for full-time MBAs, alumni serve as interviewers. So it's either alumni or current students. Therefore, for the interview part, if you are invited to an interview, make sure to prepare thoroughly. For yes. And once you are accepted, you should immediately start preparing for job hunting. Speed is extremely important here as well. Surprisingly, there are people who take it easy. Normally, especially for those who have been accepted to their first choice school overseas and are aiming to find a job locally, it's best to start as early as possible. That's basically the standard, so start right away. This includes networking as well, so please leave your job search after your MBA to us. For consultations, please visit the top page of our website. There's a chat box there, so feel free to enter your questions, like if you want to go to Columbia for your MBA, for example. We offer various services, including resume reviews, so please start by reaching out to us here. Please let us know what kind of support you want or what you'd like us to help with. We look forward to hearing from you and definitely consider Columbia. There's still time to apply for both the first and second rounds of the J term, so make sure to apply early.
Yes. Well, starting with Columbia, from now on, not just top MBA programs, but also computer science and data science programs will be increasingly important. Oh, that's right. Emmy, I forgot to mention something about GAFAM, the AI sector of the American GAFAM companies.
In those positions. Oh, that's right. Someone from Alpha got in. That's really impressive. Securing a position there is extremely competitive. Seriously, it's intense.
The competition is absolutely fierce, probably with this. I think a $500,000 offer is pretty much guaranteed, but really from getting into one of the top computer science programs in the US, Alpha has been supporting them all the way. And even after getting in, we've continued to support their job search in the US. If possible, we're even talking about having them share their experience, maybe in a closed session at the dojo or something like that. Well, they've landed an amazing AI position at a US FANG company. It's really an incredible role. So for all of you, not just in the US, but at top companies around the world, you can also land positions with salaries of $200,000, $300,000, or even $500,000. as a way to step up, pursuing an MBA or studying computer science or data science, especially financial engineering, which is extremely popular right now, are great options. You all have There are programs and opportunities that can truly leverage your dreams. Yes, so I really encourage you. Right now is an incredible chance. It's still only May. And if you start preparing now, you can complete your applications in 2 or 3 months for some programs. If you spend just a month working with us at Columbia, you'll have no problem at all. So I hope those who want to move quickly will join us. Many people want to apply to Columbia first and then to other schools, and that's absolutely fine. There's no problem with that approach at all. If you're aiming to get into a top school, I really think this year is a huge opportunity, so I encourage you to consult with Alpha as soon as possible. So we provide support for everything from career and career counseling to job change support, as well as assistance with MBA applications and more. So please come to Alpha early and make the shift to becoming a global management or specialized professional talent. All right. With that, thank you as always for watching. Thank you very much. I look forward to having the opportunity to speak with each of you individually. Well then, goodbye. Goodbye.